Okay, so what is the goal of this creative destruction game? The goal is to have the most net worth at the end of the game. How do you get net worth? Well, it is made by you're an investor and you're taking long and short positions in stocks, and all of the player holdings, your holdings and opponent player holdings, are all hidden until the game is over. So at the end of the game, everything is revealed, and we can tell based on how well your long positions and how poorly your short positions performed. That'll give you a higher end game score or a higher net worth. They're one and the same thing. So you have some power in this game over changing the world economy, which will impact the performance of your investments. But you also want to be careful when you're making changes to the world that you're not too obvious, because your opponents, your other investors, can take note and they can actually work against your own goals. So this is kind of the key tension in the game, is really sort of helping your companies or hurting companies you don't like, and also doing the opposite for opponent investments if you think opponent like this or that company. But you also want to do that in a way that's sort of subtle, and that's really the tension, because if you're too obvious, then people can hurt your companies, and you can even play tricks on people and make them think that you don't like a company, and they actually start to help it because they think you don't like it, and it turns out that you actually own it. So it gets into these kind of interesting game theory type problems. So what is the game flow? Well, the game takes 1.5 to 2 hours, and it's 3 major kind of sections to the game. First is the investments. So I've got an app version here that I'm working on. For the investments, I'll just open up the investment page. That would be this guy down here. You can see that right now I'm just using colors to represent the investments for each company. But here you can see I'm long yellow, and I'm long this color, turquoise, and I'm short blue. So basically during the investment round, I'm choosing new stocks to go long and short in. And that's a really important part of the game, because it's going to determine what your long-term outcome is based on what you're long and the short. And the idea between a long and a short is the longs, you get more points if they go up from when you bought them, from whatever price they were at the time you bought them, and shorts, you get points if they go down from wherever you bought them in terms of their share price. So that's the investment phase. The next kind of core part of the game is the actions, and actions is when we're actually changing and manipulating the board and changing things. So for example, we might add demand in the food industry, or we might do some lobbying in the Senate that causes the board to actually rotate. So this inner board, let's actually see if we can do that here. Give you an idea of how this rotates. So if you go into here and you do a board rotation, then you can see it actually changes the configuration of the board. So now some of these outer sectors would get impacted. So that's a lobby action. There's increased demand action. So that's when we can increase demand in certain industries or decrease demand in certain industries. So you kind of get the idea. There's these various kind of actions that you can take through the game that can help or hurt the companies that you're invested into. And then the final kind of phase is the operations phase, and that's when the companies, after everybody's done some changes to the world, they calculate sort of their profits and how economically successful they were that round. So you can see they kind of bounce around there. And so again, you want the companies that you buy long to go up, and you want the ones that you short to kind of go down. And there's also some player power roles in this game. So there's a banker role, a bureaucrat role, entrepreneur role, executive role, and a politician role. Give you a flavor. For example, the bureaucrat, he can do things when you're taking actions in the game that make it harder for other players to take action. Basically, we call that red tape. Entrepreneur has a free increase demand action, and so on. So these are some player powers. So why should you care about this game? Well, it's unique. It's a departure from your typical Euro worker placement optimization type game. And more important than that, more important than optimizing your actions in this game, is more about balancing how much information you're offering to opponents. One goal that I achieved was to avoid the need for money, and still have a deep economic game, and that's nice because you don't have to kind of manage a bank. The game is play tested extensively, and it's near final published ready state. And then final other games that players might like would be games like Chicago Express, Imperial, Clan, Steam, Brass, Indonesia, Container. Those players who like those games should probably enjoy this game. And then finally, just want you to know that there's an app version currently under development, and I'm planning to release it in tandem with the physical board game, with some kind of Kickstarter stretch goal or some other means of putting it out there. So that's Creative Destruction. I hope you enjoy the game.